What's up, guys? It's Adam Della here with Truphae. Today we got something a little different. I'm going to be sitting down and talking to David from Figboot on Pens. Just a little bit about David and how we're doing this. This is a really big deal for me because he kind of guided my entry into the fountain pen world. I have followed his videos closely, and I'm really excited to get to speak with you today. Hello, David.
Hey there, Adam. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Really excited to get the chance to kind of talk pen with you. I know you put out, a lot of pen reviews and everything, and so I kind of just wanted to start out and get to know kind of a little of your background and everything. But what was your first fountain pen?
My first fountain pen was this pen right here, which was a silver LAMY All-Star. I had a friend at work who had a fountain pen. I wouldn't necessarily say he was into fountain pens. He had one. And he, one day I was just in his office working on a project, and he says, hey, you should check out this and maybe check out a fountain pen. And so I did. I went and I purchased one, and and that's kind of what bit me. Well, I mean, I had that pen for a while, and I think I had a couple of other ones. I had a Safari and a couple of Metros that I had for a little while, and I was pretty happy with those pens. And that, I didn't necessarily dive off the deep end until later, but that's what started it all, was this silver LAMY All-Star.
What nib did you have on that?
It's a fine nib, and I've learned that for the most part, I don't necessarily care for fines. So, but I got a fine nib because I think that's what was on it, or maybe I really didn't know what I was doing. So maybe I just ordered it and really didn't even know that you could select what nib size. That's how much of a newbie I was at the time. So I might have just ordered what was default there in the system.
So what kind of led you from this LAMY into really getting into that journey of pen collecting?
I think after a while, I enjoyed using pens, and I enjoyed using the fountain pens, and enjoyed that they were a little bit different, and I enjoyed that. And after a while, I had a few pens, and I kind of decided that, maybe I should look for something else out there, and what other things are out there. So I kind of scoured every top 10 list I could find and every review I could find, and ended up buying a TWSBI Diamond 580. And I got that pen, and I thought that was just like the coolest pen in the world. And when I got that, that's what really hooked me, because I kind of thought to myself, hey, if there is something this cool out there, then what other really cool things are out there? And that's a very dangerous question to ask.
Once you step away from those converter pens, there's no going back.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact it was, it was a piston filler. It was large. It has a very cool look to it. Just the fact you could see the ink sloshing around. It just it had a lot going on for it. It's still a great pen.
That was actually I did the same exact thing. I went LAMY Safari to start. I had got one from my mom because she loved fountain pens. Had that for 2 years. Started using it after 2 years of not using it. Bought a 580 after that, and just the rest is my bank's history.
Well, yeah, because, I did so much research because I was afraid. Spending $60 or $50 on a pen, what it was at the time, was, that's insane. And so, I didn't want to waste my money. And so you have to do tons of research and things like that. So I understand where folks are at when they get started in this hobby, and you're just really looking for information and affirmation that you're not going to be making a mistake, and that you're going to be buying something that you care for. And so that's kind of some of the aspects I try to take in my reviews, is providing as much information as possible, not necessarily to make up your mind for you, but to provide you with information. Because, just because I don't like something or something doesn't work for me doesn't mean it's not going to work for you, and it could fit into your preferences. And so that's why a lot of my reviews, I'm not necessarily saying this is good, this is bad, because I might say that something doesn't work for me, but I don't say it's bad in general, unless there's something that's like really wrong with the pen. But that's kind of the thought process I go into, because everyone has different tastes, and everyone has different things that work for them.
One thing I love about your videos is, not everyone has a local pen store or a local stationery store. And with your videos, it really does give you, your videos can be, 14 minutes, 20, like they're long enough to really give you the sense of what is the experience of picking up this pen. I guess, do you want to just talk a little bit about that? How you make it feel so, full?
I try to provide as much information about the pen, not only the pen, but then kind of what the outer aspects of the pen. I always like talking about etymology and like how the the different words originated and how companies originated, because some of that history and some of those things are what fascinates me personally. So I kind of like looking into those types of things and finding out those types of things. And those are kind of the little aspects that kind of help round out a pen and make it something a little bit more special and a little different. If you could, there's a little story behind it, or there's a cool aspect to it that you don't know about or hadn't heard about, and it's little things like that that can make pens that much more special. And so I kind of try to search for those types of things and bring that information to the table, as well as just the generic information of these are the parts and the features of the pen.
Well, going back to kind of your journey with pens, do you remember what was your first Grail pen acquisition?
I think my first Grail that I really had was probably this Mont Blanc 146. I owned a couple of Mont Blanc roller balls that I actually never purchased. That I have 3 in my collection, but all were given to me at various states of my life. So that's a long story in itself. But I didn't have a fountain, and so I think there's certain levels that you get to, and getting like a Mont Blanc 146 was kind of something that I really wanted. And so I ended up buying it used. I don't purchase that many used pens, but it was going to be the only way I was going to afford this pen and the price range that I was looking for at the time. And so I kind of searched and then finally found one at a reasonable price that I felt was in good condition. And it's worked out well. It's been a very nice purchase for me, but that was kind of like the first one that I would call my Grail pen, because I just really wanted a 146. And there's kind of been other Grails down the line that have kind of stair-stepped up, but that was the beginning.
Do you remember when that was?
Boy, that was probably maybe 6 years ago, something like that. I mean, I've had my channel for a little over 5 years. So maybe 6 years, 6.5 years.
Awesome. Well, I know for you, and a lot of fountain pen collectors, the story behind, the chase of the pen, if you will, is a big part of why things mean. So do you have a favorite kind of fountain pen memory?
I think the one that I had to work the hardest for was this Omas. This is an Omas My Lord, and I really wanted a pen with the Omas Arco celluloid. And there was a time when it was very difficult to find. Omas had just gone under, and the material wasn't readily available, and there was it's a little more readily available now, but at the time it was very hard to find, especially for a pen that was, we'll say, reasonably priced. You could, buy one for several $1,000s, but that wasn't the market that I was looking for. And so I scoured eBay, scoured Amazon, scoured pen shows. I mean, I looked everywhere for a reasonably priced Arco. And I was able to finally find one. Again, I don't buy that many used pens, but this one was a used pen. And I have been very happy with this. But it took me a long time, probably a good year of looking and waiting for auctions to come up and things like that, and then finally found one on a buy it now at a reasonably price. Well, our price I was willing to pay, and then was able to take care of it or purchase it. And it's been something I've really enjoyed. I've had this nib tuned by Mike Matsuyama, so it works fantastic, but I just love this material.
What kind of nib is it? What size?
It's a medium. It's just a medium nib, medium 14 karat. I think it's 14 karat gold nib. But I just had Mike tune it up nicely, and it writes to perfection.
Beautiful. Well, if you could go back to when you first started collecting fountain pens, is there any advice that you would give yourself now?
I'd say don't go so fast. Don't be in such a hurry. When I first started off, I did go slow. I only had a few pens. And then once I got bitten by the bug, then it was very easy to kind of go off the deep end and always be searching for that next cool thing. And the byproduct of that is there was kind of that mid price range of maybe, let's say, that $60 to $200 range. I kind of flew past that really quick. And so while I made a lot of purchases in that price range, I didn't necessarily take the time to fully enjoy all of the pens in that price range and kind of move through it naturally. I kind of hopped up really quick. And so I have a lot of pens in that price range that I own, but I didn't necessarily enjoy or take the time to enjoy and appreciate. So I would say, try to focus on not going too fast and enjoying what you have before moving on to bigger and better things. That would be my advice to my previous self.
Well, speaking of advice, I know a lot of people get bitten by the bug. It seems like, people just discover that this whole world exists of just tactile stimulation, and they just get completely enveloped. Is there what are the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they get into the world of especially high-end fountain pens, where you're dealing with much larger investments and potentially much larger losses from mistakes?
I think it's very hard not to get, we'll call it penvy. Where, you go online and you see one of your friends purchase something that you really wanted, or purchase something that you think is just incredible and awesome. And it's hard not to then want to jump on that bandwagon. And again, it comes down to kind of taking it slow and taking it reasonably so that you can, be fiscally responsible as well. And so, I have some friends that, I know have purchased a bunch of pens, and then they're like, okay, well, now I have a bunch of bills to pay, so I have to sell a bunch of pens. And then now they're working at buying some pens back, and then they got to sell some pens. And there's kind of a constant in and out. And, if that's the state where you're in, then maybe we need to toe things down a little bit and stay in that range that fits into your budget a little bit better, so you're not having to constantly move things in and out of your collection to pay the bills that month.
And you end up losing money like that, as I've found.
Well, yes. I mean, pens are not an investment. They are not a valid investment. I think I probably own maybe one pen that I could sell for more than retail value that I purchased it for. So, and that's probably this. I have a Mont Blanc Alfred Hitchcock that I was able to pull. This again was a grail pen for quite some time. That's for a very long time, and I never thought I was going to purchase it. I had pretty much given up on it because it's out of stock. There's no new ones to be had. And when they do come up for sale, they are extremely expensive. And they were just a price I was not willing to pay for a pen. And a friend of mine actually purchased one of these and then let me know about a retailer in a foreign country who was an authorized retailer, but had another one at the same price that he had paid for it. And I kind of said, well, that's as cheap as it will ever be. And so if I wanted to turn this pen around, I could make a profit on it, but it's not going anywhere because I waited far too long to get this Mont Blanc Hitchcock. And so it's not going anywhere, but I could, that's probably the one in my collection I could sell for more than what I paid for.
Well, there you go, folks. Get a Hitchcock if you want to make money.
Well, get it at the right price.
At the right price. Right. Buy low, sell high.
Yes.
Well, segueing, I was wondering, how many pens do you like to keep inked at once?
Far too many. I am not the greatest when it comes to cleaning out my pens. I try to rotate through my whole collection. And so I'm constantly kind of each week going through and picking out the pens that I might have for the week and making sure that they need to get, do I need to clean them? While I have a very good schedule I've created for using my pens, I need to do better at coming up with a cleaning schedule. I'm not as disciplined when it comes to cleaning. So
you make a chore wheel.
Yes, and spin it. This is the brand that I'm going to clean today or something like that. So every once in a while, I'll go through and kind of get a cookie sheet out and just, maybe lay out 10 or 15 pens and, okay, these are all getting cleaned. And so I do clean some each week, but I probably could do a better job of cleaning them before then. I probably end up having to spend twice as long to clean them because I've waited too long. So I could do a better job of, in reality, what I should do is have my pens for the week and then clean them at the end of the week. And so then it's not, they won't be as dirty and it'll be much easier to clean. So in theory, that's what I should do.
Well, speaking of ink, do you have a favorite ink right now?
My favorite ink is Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. That's just kind of my favorite ink. When I first started, with my very first bottle of ink was a bottle of black Parker Quink, and I just used black ink for a while, and that made me happy. I mean, I really wasn't that much into ink, and then I got a blue. I just went crazy and got a blue ink, and then after a little while, then it just kind of went off the rails from there. But I like just about many of the Pilot Iroshizuku line. That's kind of my favorite line in general. And then on top of that, the bottles look really cool. So that kind of adds to the functionality there. But of that, Konpeki is probably my favorite ink overall. It's a nice solid blue. It's vibrant, but not so vibrant that you can't use it at work and on a day-to-day basis. And so I think it's a good overall ink.
I think I know what's going in my shopping cart. I don't have any Konpeki. That's one of the only Pilot colors I don't currently have. And it's because I have so many of the Manyo blues, but I really need to get some.
Well, what's your favorite?
My favorite? I would have to say I absolutely love the Sailor Gentle Grenade or Granada.
Like the red? The reddish,
they're
maroonish?
Raspberry-ish, dark raspberry almost. It's got a little more, pinkish hue than most deep reds, but it's still very deep. So I love that color.
I like Sailor inks. I think I maybe have a little bit of bias because I despise their bottles so much. The bottles are not very usable, and so I wish they had a different bottle design so I could enjoy their inks a little bit more. But each time I try to ink something up using those bottles, it's a little frustrating.
That and the storage potential of the round bottles is not great. The Pilot inks fit perfect. They look great on a shelf with a lot of them, but the Gentles, they're circular, so they just take up a lot of space. Got a big footprint.
Yeah. Now, some people are really good about keeping the ink boxes, and so they can just stack them up and think. I've ditched all those boxes, and so I have all of my inks in shelves, but or like drawers. But in hindsight, maybe if you kept all those boxes, then you could stack them up. But then you're having to open. I don't know how much of a clutter that would be, but I've seen people keep them in. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
There's also something about just seeing how much ink, seeing your ink itself on the shelf is so nice.
Yeah, as opposed to just seeing a bunch of boxes.
Yeah.
So, but because I do like seeing those bottles.
Well, that's a good segue into my next question. What is your storage situation like for both pens and inks?
I have a wide variety. I have just about every type of storage you could imagine. When it comes to, other my earpiece falling out. These 48 pen cases are very reasonably priced. You could probably pick one up for $10 or something like that on Amazon. These do a good job of storing pens, and so I have a number of these. But I'd say the vast majority of my pens, well, actually also something else, like these, Esterbrook has these new cases that came out. I just might be doing a review of a number of these cases in a couple of days. But these cases are nice. But I have a number of wood cases. There's like a 24 pen case right there that you can see. And I have a variety of IKEA shelves and others, just a wide variety. This one here holds, I think this one holds 48 pens right here that you can see back there, and it has a number of different drawers to it. Or maybe, yeah, I think 48. So it's kind of a wide variety. I have like one of everything or a little bit of everything. So it's not something that's condensed into like one place. It's kind of spread out in a variety of different contraptions to hold pens.
Well, which comes first for you, the storage or the pen?
The pen. The pen comes first. It's not like I have them out on display. I mean, there's a few that have like a glass top and things like that, but they're not really out. I think on my desk, I have these cubes that are from Dudek Modern Goods. And these are kind of what I have. I have a couple of these cubes, and that's what's on my desk. So where I kind of keep my pens that I'm either using or or need to review. I kind of have a couple of other little storage, on desk storage that I use for the pens that I'm using each day. But for as far as where they stay all the time, then those are more. Everything's kind of more put away.
Well, cool. And I guess a question I have about, it was a crazy 2020 with a lot of time alone indoors. So I'm wondering, what pens did you use the most over the last year? And did you form any new pen or writing habits or?
Well, okay, I'm a data analyst in real life, and so I've talked about this before on my channel, but I have a spreadsheet where I keep track of all of my pen use. If you wanted to know what pen I used on, 3 months ago last Thursday, I could tell you, or 3 years ago last Thursday, I could tell you, and how many pens, how to kind of keep track of when was the last time I used each pen, what ink is in it, and things like that. So I do a good job of like keeping track of my collection and managing it. And one of the things I try to do is I kind of try to rotate through my whole collection, or not whole collection, but I have some that I kind of have deemed in the rotation, and I rotate through those. So I did take a look at my spreadsheet to see, okay, over 2020, which were the ones that I used the most. And actually there was like a number that tied for first place. One was this pen here from pen 18111, which is called the Night Sky Sakura, that Yoshi does some amazing, amazing work. Another was the Aurora 88, the Black Mamba. That one was tied for the lead. I think I used that. I'm a big Lakers fan, and so that one was also because since with Kobe leaving us this year, that was kind of cathartic as far as using that pen as well. Also a Pilot. This is the 845. That was tied for the lead, as well as the Mont Blanc that I showed earlier, the Omas I showed earlier, and the Parker Dual Fold Centennial Big Red. So all of those were tied for the lead as far as using it most often. I'd say the ones that I kind of have a tendency to have a few on my desk that because I kind of I deem a pen to be a pen of the day that I kind of use throughout the day, but then I'll have some others that kind of sit on my desk for a while, and if I have to reach for a note or I need to write a letter or something like that, then I might use that a little bit more often. And lately I've been using this pen from Jonathan Brooks a great deal. This is some special material called Earth Magic that he created. And recently I did a video all about nib grinds. And this one has a left oblique nib on it. And I'm really enjoying that. So I have folks write me letters. I encourage folks to write letters. I've always said that, hey, if you write me a letter, I'll write you back. And folks write letters. And lately, all of the letters are getting written back with this left oblique nib that I'm enjoying. And also, a recent acquisition of mine was this Leonardo Momento Zero Grande in Jonathan Brooks's primary manipulation material, and I've really been enjoying that as well. Leonardo's been doing some great work over this past year, and this was another good example of it. So it was a nice combination of a friend of mine who created some really cool material, and then a pen company that I think's been doing some good things. So those are kind of the things that I've been using a lot lately.
Well, on that note, what are you most excited for in 2021? Whether it's pens, pen companies, announcements, events.
You know, there's always a few new things coming up. I'm looking forward to checking out the new LAMY Dialogue CC, which is kind of the new version of the Dialogue. I'm looking forward to checking that out. But you know, I'd like to say that what I'm looking forward to is the thing that I don't even know exists right now. Like when you go to a pen show, that was kind of the most fun thing sometimes is you go into a pen show and there's, you know, thousands of things you've seen before, but then all of a sudden there's something you haven't seen before, or a company you've never heard of, or a model that you haven't seen before and that really catches your eye. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to have this upcoming year, is more discoveries of that, of things that come onto my radar, because that's always kind of fun to kind of grow and expand your knowledge and your kind of pen world in regard to things that aren't on your radar now.
That's awesome. I'm also looking forward to that new pen that gives me that deep sense of penvy.
Yes. Oh, it's like, you know, like a couple of years ago, I had never seen a pen 18111s. And I went to a pen show, and I can't remember exactly which show it is that I went to, maybe the DC show a couple of years ago, and I saw them, and it like blew me away. The work is just fantastic on these pens, and all of the effort that goes into them, and the different work that goes into inlaying all of the details is fantastic. And so those are the type of things that I really enjoy, is you walk into a show and all of a sudden you're kind of exposed to something fantastic you've never seen. And it was fun because at that show, there was a number of us that someone would buy one and then they'd go show it to everyone and be like, what did I get? See what I got? See what I got? And then, you know, and then someone else would go get one and show it to everyone. And then I bought mine. And then of course I had to show it to everyone, and they'd see the same little box that you had, and they know that you picked one of these up because you bought it, and you had to go show it off to all your friends at the show. But yeah, I hope to find new things like that.
Well, David, thank you so much for your time. And everyone, go check out David's Pen of the Day on Instagram.
It's Figboot 11, the number 11 on Instagram. So Figboot was taken, and so Figboot 11 was the Instagram name.
There you go,
but,
Figboot 11.
Yeah, but on YouTube, it's Figboot on pens, and I typically come out with 2 videos a week.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Make sure you guys check out his channel, check out his Pen of the Day, and thank you for your time.
Hey, well, thanks for having me, Adam.
All right, have a good one, guys, and we'll see you next time.